Hello, everyone. Eddie here, and today I wanted to talk about representation. And what got me on this subject was about a couple of weeks ago, my wife and I went to go see Wicked, the movie, and we actually had saw it on Broadway many moons ago. And I often was like, boy, it would be really nice to see that as a movie. And so finally, they made it into a movie. So I was watching it, and then of course, it seems like I can't around or away from the subject of DEI, but how people were talking about how DEI came into to play with the actress who played Elphaba, that's the Green Witch, and so that really got me thinking about how I view a lot of this stuff and representation. So I just wanted to share some stories going through the years of me growing up. My very first comic that I can remember was an Iron Man, and the Iron Man comic that I got was was interesting because it was technically Iron Man, but it was when Jim Rhodes was filling in for Iron Man. See, my mother had a rule in our household coming up in that she wanted us to read books and things showing people who look like us. So a lot of the comic books we didn't get, with the exception of we kind of sometimes got the Superman and the Batman, probably because we were big fans of Superman. We saw the movie and everything, and Batman's just Batman. But for the most part, it was either stuff like Looney Tune comics or furry animals, or the comic book had to have someone where the main character was black. And so when we were at a grocery store, she saw an Iron Man comic. She flipped through it and said, "Okay, you can get that." And that's what started my craze on comics. My very first comic was an Iron Man comic. Loved it to death. So really enjoyed it. And then throughout the years, I just started noticing things that just make me ponder. So after so long, um, that was in, I would say, grade school. When I got into high school, I was actually actively collecting comic books, and someone invited me and got me hooked into Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, Dungeons and Dragons gaming. And so I remember rolling up a character in Dungeons and Dragons, and I was reading through the whole manual, looking at all different character classes, and I saw the Paladin, the Holy Warrior, and I thought, okay, this seems cool. So I made up the character, wrote a good story and everything. Just had it. I was just like that gleeful, joyful look you have in your eyes when you love this character and you want to play. And so get to the group, start playing, and then I would say maybe a few sessions in, somebody asked me, "Is your paladin black?" And to me, I just thought, "Well, yeah, of course he is." And the response really always perplexed me to this day. But they just said, "Well, paladins can't be black." And I said, "Oh, how? Why is that? Where did they say that at?" Well, it's just that they're more of European descent. So then this is where I come up with my line that I always say. I said, "So you mean dragons can fly overhead, elves can frolic in the forest, but a black paladin is just a bridge too far?" And so we argued back and forth. And then I remember thinking the DM did one of the kind of like, don't ask, don't tell. If nobody asks what the ethnicity of my character is, it should not come up. Which I still thought was like, yeah. But I digress. Still moving through. So I go to college. So we're shifting again. This is high school. Now I'm going to college. And I remember in college, Star Trek Voyager was starting out, and I was looking forward to it. I actually remember my physics teacher saying that the premiere was going to happen, and that him and some of the faculty are looking forward to it, and they're going to enjoy watching it. And so I was like, yeah, I was on board. And actually, Star Trek Voyager is actually one of my favorite Star Trek films because I think it blended Star Trek with Lost in Space, and I kind of like that. So I remember they introduced the character Tuvok, a Vulcan who happened to be black, and I was watching it with some friends, and one of the friends says, "Wait, a black Vulcan?" And so, I kind of did that face contouring, but I said, you know what? Just gonna let it go. Just gonna let it go. It's okay, nothing. So we watched the next episode the following week. This is before you could do binging and stuff like that or streaming. But the next following week we watched the episode, and so he said again, he was like, I just don't get it. I mean, a black Vulcan. And so at this point, I was getting really frustrated. So I said, "Yeah, I hear you, man." I said, "Black Vulcans are about the same as black humans. I mean, that's just crazy." And so then he gave me this look, and then he said that, "No, I just mean that Vulcans aren't supposed to have any pigmentation, so it does not make sense from a canon perspective." Little did he know that I was a big Star Trek buff, so I said, "So exactly where did they say that at?" Because I read a lot of Star Trek fan novels and the magazines, and I've never read that. So please show me. You have to prove it to me. It's just that that's the way it's always been. I said, "You do realize," this is what I told him. I said, "You do realize that they had no pigmentation, then they would be albino, right?" And I haven't seen any albino Vulcans, so your premise is off. And so, unless you can give me a reason why there should not be any black humans, then I think you should let the black Vulcans stand. Last time we had any discussion about that. So that just really got me to thinking about all of the characters and how my face lights up when I see characters that look like me. So fast forward it again. This is where we get into that territory where it's kind of crazy. Like, for example, when they changed the Little Mermaid and made her black, and you thought people were gonna lose their mind because a mythical underwater creature had to be white, could not be black, had to be white. Had gills, a mermaid. I just don't think you can get any mythological than that. A mermaid, and people talking about, oh, I don't like how they're changing it, and this was before DEI hire, and what I started doing was actually start paying more critical attention to such different castings and seeing what the reactions would be. And the only one that I did not see a reaction for was Watchmen. Um, if you didn't know, they made a Watchmen series based on the comics, based on the movies, where they kind of did like a prequel slash sequel all rolled into one. So they showed the past, how it was misconstrued, and then they showed what happened after the events of the Watchmen. And one of the interesting things is Dr. Manhattan, who happens to be the one actual superhero in the series, the actor that played Dr. Manhattan was black. And for me, it really didn't. I mean, it was like, yeah, that makes sense, but I didn't think one way or another about it. But some other comic books, such as Teen Titans, if you ever know, Teen Titans has a character on it called Starfire. She happens to be an alien from a different world with dark golden skin. So when they did the series, they made the actress who played her was black, dark skin, black, beautiful lady. And again, people lost their minds. Just I guess we can't even say the term people of color anymore, because some kind of way in a lot of people's minds, if her skin is dark golden, that means it should have been a white lady playing her. I don't know. I I begin to think, or I tend to think that it's more than what people are letting on. There's some issue. Well, without saying racist, there's some racist issue that's lingering that people are hating. So I've had several discussions with some of my friends, like for example, jumping to more current time, the Lord of the Rings, with the dark skinned hobbits and the elves that happen to be black. Oh, Tolkien never meant it to be that way, and this is messing up. So again, I just have to. I would be cracking up if it wasn't so sad in so many ways. But the fact that you have again mythological creatures frolicking and doing all kind of things, and the bridge too far is that you have people of color in it, and that's just making it some kind of way your immersion into it. And again, it was really interesting watching other people discuss this in like the forums and everything. I'm trying to think of the person name, but I want to say the writer or producer of the Sandman series was talking about how fans were upset with Star Wars with the Black Dark Jedi, and so I'm paraphrasing it because I don't remember exactly, but his sentiment was that if you don't have a problem with glowing swords and mythological powers, but you have a problem with a black Jedi, then it's really you have a problem. And that's kind of how I feel is that I think we all want representation. We all want to be able to look and see ourselves. And so as this country becomes more of a melting pot and you have different looks, different people, different ethnicities, and they're starting to bubble up and being displayed, then the one that has been predominant in most of the culture, i.e., white, they're not being seen as much. That's not necessarily to diminish them, but they're not being seen as much. And I think that's a problem for them because it looks like, for lack of a better word, they're becoming a minority. And so I think that can be scary because, again, we all would like to see representation. So I do get it. So what do I do while I was discussing all of this? So one of my friends actually, we go back and forth discussing it, and he's saying that he doesn't like the DI, the woke, and this just isn't right. And so I just gave him a simple challenge. I said, you know what? Just tell me one movie, and this is for anyone who's actually watching the video, because I will gladly take it. Just give me one movie where it is an all white cast, no people of color, no minorities, no different ethnicities, just completely all white, where people complained about the movie. And you can go back as far as you need to. I have not been able to come up with one, and I'm a pretty big movie buff. I watch a lot of different movies, but for the most part, give me a movie where it's an all white cast, where it's the lead actor and actresses is white, all the cast is white, where fans have trashed it or just tried to review bomb it. And if you can't find one like that, then obviously you can find one where there are people of color in it where it gets review bomb. We can name several different movies that are getting trashed because either it's an all female lead cast or people of color are in it. It's under the guise of I don't like the quality of the storytelling or they're not keeping true to the source material. I say hogwash to all that. I say at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want to be able to look on the screen and see ourselves in that, in what we're watching. We want to see the heroes that we're watching. And you know what? That's a good thing. At the end of the day, that really is a good thing. So that's, to me, what representation is. Anyway, this is just my opinion. Love to hear yours in the comment section. And if you keep watching, I will keep creating. Thank you. Have a good one.